how much do I need saved in my nest egg in order to retire? That's a question we get all the time, and I'm sure that's what you were searching for and stumbled upon this video. And you may caught the title where it's I disagree with an article that Schwab published. And the main reason for that is when you Google a topic such as how much do I need in retirement, you're going to get a lot of different answers. And a lot of them are rules of thumb, right? Schwab's article pretty much said that whatever you're wanting to spend in retirement, times 25, and that's what you need saved. And that's a good rule of thumb. So if you wanted $6,000 a month in income, that's $72,000 a year. Take that times 25, you need $1.8 million. And so that's a good rule of thumb to go by, but there's a lot of things that can change, especially in retirement, that you'll need to adapt to. So if you think that, hey, I got this amount and I don't have to worry about anything else in order to get this $72,000, you might be disappointed, especially when you think that 30 years, that's what we plan for in retirement, or till age 90. There's a lot of things that change. And I've been doing this almost 20 years, and I can tell you that when you sit down with a client and they're retiring, we're having these great conversations about what they plan on doing, and then fast forward 10 years, and there's all kinds of things that I didn't plan on this. I didn't think this was going to happen. Now I'm taking care of my parents and also helping out with my adult children. That's the baby boomers. We have a lot of baby boomer clients, and they're that sandwich generation. There's health issues, the death of a spouse. There's all kinds of things that can change and can either increase cost, or it could be market related, where your portfolio didn't do as well as it was designed to do as far as going through a period of no returns. If you retired in the year 2000, it was 13 years before the S&P broke even. It went down 50% because of the tech bubble, broke even in 2007, and then the financial crisis came, another 50% decline, and then it broke even in 2013. That's 13 years where the markets really returned nothing. And so did that dollar amount, let's say the 1.8 million, how did that do during that time period? We have the ability to not only look at those things and stress test a retirement plan, but to let people know that there may be changes that have to happen depending on variables that we can't control. And so just going by a rule of thumb, that's the disagreement. I'm not saying they're bad. We custody one of our custodians is Charles Schwab. There's nothing bad about Charles Schwab. It's just that some of these articles that are published, they give you a good rule of thumb, but you really need to think of other variables along with it. Fidelity, I believe, had one that was 10 times your retirement income needs, 25 times is what Schwab says, and the 10 times was actually based on your income that you're currently earning as opposed to what you want in retirement. So I'm just going to pull up the software here that we utilize, and we'll walk through how that looks and what we look for when we're planning. So if we haven't met, my name is Brandon VanLandingham. I'm the founder of Paresis Private Wealth Management. We help clients build and implement ideal retirement plans, and also they're dynamic, and that key word there is dynamic. They're fluid, and we need to be able to adapt to changes, whether that's the Secure Act 2.0 changes or tax law changes, things that we can't control or predict. We just know that probably we are going to run into some changes. Some are good. Secure Act had a lot of good benefits in it, or increased taxes, not so good. So we just need to know that is probably going to happen over a 30-year window. That's what we typically plan for. Let's just jump right in. So here is the dashboard, and I put in the same numbers that we just talked about. The $72,000 a year to $1.8 million is what you need. We're not factoring in residence, other assets. We're just looking at that probability. And so right here, it's got a probability of success of 78, and that is because we need to change this right here back to the 6,000. I rehearsed this, so I was running through these before I made the video. If we go back to that dashboard, we will see 1.8 million, high probability of success. And so when you look down here, these are the simulations, again, based on probability, so the confidence level. So you got a 5 to 95, this is wider band. So if everything just worked out perfect and the equity markets just crushed it, then you could end up with $6 million, even pulling out the 72. But also there's that 5%, the lower bound that says you might run out of money close to that age 90. And then of course the median's right there in the middle. So we structured this as a typical portfolio that we see. And so the majority of clients that we help have a large IRA. They have also some savings in taxable account. It could be a trust account, a joint account, an individual brokerage account, but it's taxable. And then they may have an account that's like a Roth IRA, so it's tax-free income. And then we just put it a standard 60-40 portfolio. This is not ours. This is actually just a standard software portfolio. But we can see here that on the face of it, everything just looks fine. And so most people, if they utilize software like this, there's some free software online, and they'll say, hey, everything looks good, so I should be good to go. When you click on the retirement piece in our software, and then we go over here to the retirement details, this is the income that you're gonna pull out. And as you can see, again, it looks great. But this is, again, is as if nothing changes, right? So returns, you get the exact returns that the software gives, and that's an average. It doesn't take into consideration like a sell-off at the beginning of retirement versus going through a bull market at the beginning of retirement. That's sequence of returns risk, which I'll make another video about that, which pretty much just says that if you have two people and the average return over a 30-year window for both of them is 6%, and the first guy goes through a bear market at the beginning of retirement and a bull market, and what I mean by that, let me back up, that's jargon. If it goes through a down market, like a recession at the beginning, and at the end it goes through an up market, markets do really well. The second guy goes through the up market initially, and then the down market towards the end of their life. That the guy that went through the down market at the beginning is way worse off than the one that went through the up market in the beginning. And that, again, is what's called sequence of returns risk. And a lot of people just don't factor that in. They literally factor in just the averages. So what we'll do is we'll walk through this and everything looks rosy here. But what about if we have a bad decade followed by slow growth? That did occur 2000 to 2013. The financial crisis was the slowest recovery on record. And it was 13 years that the market really didn't go anywhere. So this is a plausible scenario. And this shows that there's a potential for about $275,000 shortfall. And so even though these are up here, because that's what you need to pull, that means in this year, you ran out of money. So that $1.8 million as you're in your 70s and 80s goes down into the hundreds of thousands and not millions. But at this later year here, that's when it went to zero, and then you have a shortfall. So there's several scenarios. We make up scenarios down here for just depending on the client. They may have a specific scenario that could be a possibility, and so we'll create that scenario and then stress test the retirement plan on it. So what if we have an adverse Federal Reserve, which is what we've got now, right? We're in 2024, the Federal Reserve's raised interest rates to 5.5%. At the beginning of the year, the market's priced in 7 rate cuts. Now they've priced in maybe 1 or 2 towards the end of the year. The Fed keeps coming out, especially Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, keeps coming out saying, we're just gonna look at the data. But the data that does keep coming through says that the markets are running, the economy's running hotter than they expect, which also to me means monetary policy is not as tight as they think it is. And you can tell that between short and long-term interest rates. The 10-year is around 4.5%, whereas the 3-month T-bill is over 5%. So it's called an inverted yield curve. But most people borrow based off longer term. You don't go buy a house and pay it off in 3 months, right? Which the interest rates on that would be a lot higher. So I just think that monetary policy isn't as tight. So in that scenario, if it continued, and I'm not saying that's the case, but then you had modest growth following that, and now you're looking at like almost $500,000 in shortfall. And then what if you had just 0 returns over that time period? About a little over 600,000. So you can see that there's shortfall in any of these scenarios where the markets don't behave or it doesn't go according to plan, then there's a chance for shortfalls. And most people, the shortfalls when the money's at 0. But as they see 1.8 million down into a few $100,000, that fear is gonna well up on the inside of going, man, I don't know if this is gonna last. That rule of thumb that said I was gonna be fine, and here I am not doing so good. So again, that's why rules of thumb, I just disagree with them for an overall plan. I think they're great for young folks, something to aim for when they get to retirement. When it comes to planning, you need to look at all the variables because more than likely they are going to change. So again, if we come down here, and that's what I was playing with earlier. So what if you had to start taking care of your parents and that was an additional cost of $1,000 a month? And I'm just making up numbers here, but things do change. And just to show you how that impacts things. If you go through that same scenario, but you had to increase it by $1,000 a month throughout your retirement, now you're looking at major shortfall, right? Over $1 million shortfall with the flat no growth. If you just have a bad decade, I mean, it just continues to give you shortfalls. And now they're, instead of being $500,000, they're getting closer to $1 million. So all these variables change the outcome. But again, any plan should be dynamic to where you're looking at things. And of course, this is at the person's age 69. So there's time to adjust, right? And I just think, again, that's the issue that I have with the rules of thumb. Utilizing software and then looking at different scenarios, stress testing a retirement plan to say, hey, this is worst case scenarios. How does that make you feel? And some people will be like, you know what, I can either, and depending on everybody's situation, they're all different. It may be they're not retired yet. It's, you know what, I'd like to get that probability where none of this would impact me. And I'm willing to, I love what I do, so I'm willing to work another 5 years or so. Other people would say, I can reduce my spending because I'm doing all, that was for all this extra stuff, and I'm fine with that. And there's also positive surprises. The markets do really well. And in that scenario, you can actually pull more money out. Do you want to take your entire family on a vacation? Because as we know that by the time you're probably in your 80s, you're going to slow down a lot. And most people, the sad thing is they retire and they're so worried about it that in the years that they can actually do stuff, they're real nervous. And so they just try to do as little as possible. They don't want to run out of money. That's their biggest fear. And to us, it's just to provide that confidence. And this is just one piece of software. We utilize tax planning software. We have income planning software to where we can set it up to where people know. So this is what you can take, and you get pay raises along the way. But if things do go south in 2008 happens, how well does the plan do? You may have to take some pay cuts, but along the way we designed the plan so that the probability of increases out is higher than the probability of decreases. And that gives them confidence to where when they're doing stuff and having fun on a vacation that they otherwise wouldn't, that they're confident. If something does change, Brandon's going to reach out and we'll sit down and discuss it. Again, rambled on there a little bit, but I hope that makes sense, and I hope you are able to take something away from this. And again, if you'd like to do any of this type of planning or have questions, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to discuss it with you. No cost consultation. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, like I said before, just send us an email. I'll put a link in the description that will take you to a landing page. Just fill that out and we'll give you access to it and allow you to play with it and do your own planning. Again, the channel was created to add value and to help as many people as we can. And so that's just one way we thought we could do that. So until next time, guys, choose your advisors wisely. Your financial health depends on it.